everything is larger than life. Even to this day, it's still larger than life for them, where everywhere she goes or whatever she does, so she puts on something, it sells out. It just, their paparazzi in the corners. So I wanted to be a safe place. I sent her a note. We had this, everybody thought Oprah introduced us, but Oprah didn't even know that I reached out to them. And I sent them a note through we had the same publicist years ago, and just said, if you ever need anything, here. And she called months later and just talked to me like I was that therapist you talked to.
It was really hard. Look, I was really ashamed to say it at the time, and ashamed to have to admit it to Harry, especially, because I know how much loss he's suffered.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew that if I didn't say it, that I would do it. And I just didn't want to be alive anymore.
What if I told you, Tyler Perry just set Hollywood on fire? With one line. No yelling, no names, just a mic, a moment, and the collapse of Meghan Markle's entire media empire. The 25th BET Awards was supposed to be another glamorous, glittery night. But when Perry stepped on stage, he didn't just give a speech, he dropped a silent bomb. And in true Hollywood fashion, nobody said a word. But everyone knew exactly who he was talking about.
Because what we need to understand is that if our children don't know our history, they won't know our power. But the truth of the matter, it's impossible to erase our footprints because we left them on water. What I mean by that is, we were snatched from our homeland, brought across the ocean, and left footprints all the way to America. When they tried to silence a king named King to keep his voice down, it still echoes through generations to generations to generations, because you cannot erase our footprints.
Let's rewind. 2020 год. The world was in lockdown. The royals were unraveling. Harry and Meghan had just cut ties with the monarchy. No titles, no security, no palace. Who came to their rescue? Tyler, freaking Perry. The Hollywood powerhouse offered them his $18 million Beverly Hills estate, paid for their protection, kept the press at bay. This wasn't just charity, it was sanctuary. For a while, it looked like a beautiful friendship. But behind those mansion gates, something darker was brewing. Flash forward to that BT stage. Perry drops this. Some folks borrow blessings like they're owed and never give them back. He didn't say Meghan's name. He didn't have to. Insiders say Perry had kept quiet for years, swallowing frustration, biting his tongue, not because of the favors, but because of what he never got in return: respect, gratitude, loyalty. It all reportedly snapped when Meghan asked to borrow Tyler's private jet. He said no dash, respectfully, logistically, professionally. Her response? Frosty at best. That's when Perry realized he wasn't a friend anymore. He was a tool, a resource to be used. And Perry wasn't the only one catching on. Producers, assistants, Hollywood insiders, all saying the same thing. Meghan builds relationships like ladders. Step up, cut ties, move on. What once looked like trauma survival started to feel like strategic manipulation. As millions rolled in from Netflix, Spotify, and publishers, gratitude nowhere to be found.
I'm happy now that they can go back to Montecito. He was a bitter, bitter man at the coronation. You could tell he was wearing it all over his face. And now he can just go home and sit in the misery that he created for himself. He's an unhappy man. He married an unhappy woman. They're going to sit in Montecito. It doesn't matter how big their mansion gets. They're never going to be happy. She can nail every Spotify deal, WME representation she wants. It's never going to fulfill the hole that's inside of her because there's something wrong with this woman.
And when Meghan allegedly name-dropped Perry in a 2024 investor pitch without his consent, that was the final straw. With that one line on stage, Perry didn't just vent. He gave Hollywood permission to speak.
Everything is larger than life. Even to this day, it's still larger than life for them, where everywhere she goes or whatever she does, so she puts on something, it sells out. It just, their paparazzi in the corners. So I wanted to be a safe place. I sent her a note. We had this, everybody thought Oprah introduced us, but Oprah didn't even know that I reached out to them. and I sent them a note through we had the same publicist years ago, and just said, if you ever need anything, here. And she called months later and just talked to me like I was that therapist you talked to.
Suddenly, everyone had a story. A former assistant called her workplace emotionally punishing. A producer said she killed every project by trying to control everything. Even Oprah's circle, silent. And that silence? Louder than any headline. One investor put it bluntly, if Tyler's out, we're out. Within 48 hours, the dominoes started crashing. Meetings canceled. Investors ghosted. Budget reviews launched. Her brand, once a badge of progress and purpose, was now labeled toxic. Netflix began rethinking their entire Sussex deal. Spotify had already bailed the year before. Even her own team reportedly called it the frost phase. Emergency strategy sessions, staff resignations. One $2 million brand deal evaporated. While Meghan's team scrambled, Harry, silent. Some say he's protecting the family. Others think he's watching the fallout and backing away, quietly. A royal insider summed it up. He left the crown to be free. Now he's in another prison, and this one doesn't have a palace.
Plenty of new things about the foundation. Surprise, surprise. Money they promised to send them, they didn't, as you say. Hardly a 40-hour week that they're working on this thing.
1 hour per week. I said 1 hour per day. No, it's 1 hour per week that they work on their little Archwell charitable foundation that they needed to leave the royal family to be able to pursue. You don't have to be a royal to be charitable, to serve the public. Well, if you are a royal, you have to do more than 1 hour a week. Maybe that's why she was so distraught. My God, remember she said the Australia tour, it was so difficult because this is what she's used to working. 1 hour a week, Paul, together, the two of them 1 hour. It was like a half an hour for her, half an hour for him. I think it went like this. This is Meghan Markle's working on herself. Nailed it again. I'm good. Photo shoot. Okay. Cheers. Okay, print it. That's probably how it went because they're not even doling out any money.
For years, Meghan was the misunderstood duchess, the feminist outsider, the survivor of monarchy politics. But now, thanks to Perry's quiet reckoning, the questions flipped. What if Meghan wasn't the victim? What if she was the mastermind all along? At one point, Meghan Markle was untouchable. The Duchess turned Hollywood darling. She was the voice of modern royalty, feminism, race, identity, and resilience all in one polished package. But now, that brand is crumbling fast. The moment Tyler Perry distanced himself, it triggered a chain reaction that Hollywood knows all too well. Not dramatic, not loud, just quiet and lethal. Suddenly, her name didn't open doors, it closed them. Studio execs started pulling out of meetings. Producers hit pause on projects mid-pitch, and marketing departments, once eager to slap her face on billboards, started asking one question: is she worth the risk? It wasn't about one incident, it was about a pattern. A whisper that became a warning. She burns bridges. She manipulates the narrative. She takes more than she gives. Even her most loyal fans online are going silent. TikTok edits that once featured slow-mo glamour shots and Oprah quotes. Now they show side-by-sides of what she said versus what insiders leaked. Twitter, X threads are dissecting interviews like crime scenes. Reddit has timelines, receipts, even flowcharts. What used to look like injustice is now being reframed as calculated PR. And the media? The same outlets that once gave her glowing spreads and magazine covers are quietly backing away. Editors are saying, if she turned on Tyler Perry, who's next? Even her own team is reportedly jumping ship. 2 staffers gone in a month. A campaign called Project Resilience shelved indefinitely. And the final gut punch? A $2 million brand collaboration canceled overnight. They didn't even try to spin it, just gone. This isn't a scandal, it's a collapse. And in a town like Hollywood, once the trust goes, so does the money. Because out here, your image is your currency. And Meghan's balance is running out. So here's the question: can Meghan rebuild, or is this her second exile and her last? Let us know what you think. Is Meghan misunderstood, or did the industry finally see the real her? Hit that like button if you're still with us. Subscribe for more celebrity exposés and deep dives. And drop your hottest take in the comments. This saga, far from over. See you in the next one.